My name is Heather Rojas. I'm 28 years old, and tonight I'm sitting alone in the apartment that used to feel like ours. Funny how quickly a space can change when one person walks out. A week ago, this place was filled with the smell of Julian's cologne and the sound of him humming badly to whatever song was stuck in his head. Now it's just me and the hum of the refrigerator. Julian and I had been together for 3 years. Not forever, but long enough to weave our lives into a rhythm. We split the bills. Built routines: Sunday farmers market, Wednesday trivia night at that awful dive bar, Friday takeout sushi on the couch. I used to think those small rituals were proof of something unshakable. Turns out they were just habits. The cruel irony. For months I'd been paying off VIP tickets to see his favorite artist, our big yearly splurge. $800 each, meet and greet the works. He'd talked about it like it was our shared dream, but really it was his. I didn't mind, though. Seeing him light up was worth it, or so I thought. 2 weeks ago, everything cracked. We were having dinner, chicken piccata I'd made from scratch, because I still cared enough to cook on a Tuesday. He set down his fork halfway through and said it like he was ordering dessert. I need a break. To find myself. At first, I thought I misheard. What? His eyes slid anywhere but at me. I don't know who I am outside this relationship. I need some space. Clichés are sharp in their own way. You can laugh at them in movies, but when the person you love serves them up like leftovers, they cut deeper than original words ever could. I asked the obvious, is there someone else? He flinched barely, but I caught it. Then came the indignation. Why do girls always assume that this is about me? Of course it was. About him. About the new gym he suddenly needed, the late nights at work that didn't add up the clothes I hadn't seen before. My gut had been whispering for weeks, but I pressed mute because I didn't want to believe it. I should have screamed, begged, fought for us. That's probably what he expected. But instead, I set my fork down, wiped my mouth with the napkin, and said, okay, take all the time you need. The silence that followed was heavier than anything he could have shouted. Really, he said, as if he couldn't believe I wasn't clinging to his ankles. You're not going to fight me on this. I met his eyes finally and forced my voice to stay steady. You said you need to find yourself. How can I argue with that? He moved out the next day. Took his clothes, his PlayStation, and the stupid ceramic cactus his sister gave us as a housewarming present. Said he'd stay with his friend Marco for a while. I didn't ask how long. But here's the thing. He didn't cut me off. He didn't block me. He still followed me on Instagram. Still texted me as if we were casual acquaintances. Little nothings like, hope you're doing okay, or crazy weather today, right? I'd stare at those messages, thumbs itching. It was as if he wanted me to remain in orbit around him while he went off to find himself. Like I was supposed to keep the lights on until he decided whether I was still home. Maybe another version of me would have played along. Waited. Made excuses. But I've been underestimated before, and there's a certain freedom in realizing someone expects you to be weak. That night, after another one of his pointless texts, I stood by the window looking down at the city. The skyline pulsed with neon cars like ants in the dark. My reflection stared back at me, tired, yes, but not broken. I whispered to myself, he thinks I'll wait. He has no idea who I really am. And in that moment, a seed of something sharp and steady planted itself inside me. Not rage, not despair, just resolve. He wanted space fine. I'd give him all the space he needed, but I wasn't going to waste my life holding it for him. The irony was, in trying to find himself, Julian was about to lose more than he ever imagined. 3 days after Julian moved out, my phone rang. The name flashing on the screen nearly broke me, Lorraine. His mom. She'd always been more than just Julian's mother to me. From the start, she made me feel like family. She taught me her grandmother's lasagna recipe, helped me choose his Christmas gifts, even slipped me advice about which ties made him look less like a wannabe banker. In some ways, she felt more like a mother than my own. I answered with a shaky voice, Lorraine. Heather, honey. Her tone was warm, but there was worry tucked inside it. What on earth is going on? Julian won't tell me a thing. Just says you two are taking a break. That's about right, I said, trying not to let the bitterness leak out. Well, that's ridiculous, Lorraine huffed like she was scolding a teenager. You don't just toss aside 3 years with someone who adores you to go find yourself. I raised him better than that. I smiled despite myself. For a moment, I could almost believe things were still normal, like I was still her daughter-in-law in training. We talked for an hour. She told me about her week, how she'd been planning to wear a sequined blouse for the concert Julian and I had tickets to. My heart clenched hearing it. That stupid concert had been the bright spot in our year, and I'd worked double shifts to afford it. Julian was supposed to go with me. Now he was off chasing some version of himself he hadn't found in 3 decades. That's when it hit me. "Hey, Lorraine," I asked carefully. "Do you like The Weeknd?" She laughed this full-bodied cackle I'd missed. "Like him." "Sweetheart, I'm the one who got Julian into his music." Blasted blinding lights around the house so much he had no choice but to become a fan. My lips curved into a smile. "How would you like to go to his concert VIP tickets, meet and greet the works?" Silence for 5 seconds, maybe 10. Then Heather, "Are you serious?" "Dead serious. The tickets are already paid for. Might as well not waste them." "But won't Julian be upset?" I shrugged, even though she couldn't see me. "He's taking a break from me, not from his mom having a good time." There was another pause, then a laugh that sounded like liberation. "You know what? You're absolutely right. When is it?" "Saturday. I'll be there," she said without hesitation. Saturday arrived, and when I pulled up outside Lorraine's house, I nearly didn't recognize her. At 53, she looked like she could have been the one on stage instead of in the audience. Leather jacket, designer jeans, her hair styled with the kind of effortless flair you see in magazines. She climbed into my car and grinned, ready to rage. I raised an eyebrow. "Did you just say rage?" "I have TikTok, sweetie. I know the lingo." We laughed at the entire drive. For the first time since Julian's break, I felt like myself again. Not someone waiting in limbo, just Heather, a woman with agency, laughter, and plans of her own. The arena was massive lights blazing against the night sky. Our VIP passes got us early entry merchandise cocktails, and eventually the meet and greet. Lorraine lived every second. She bought a tour hoodie 2 sizes too big, declaring she'd wear it to yoga. She ordered a neon pink cocktail and toasted to better company than my son. When we finally met the artist, Lorraine was cooler than any 20-something there. "You're even more handsome in person," she told him, and to my astonishment, he blushed. We took photos, professional ones, and goofy selfies. In one, she leaned like she was whispering in his ear while he laughed. It was iconic. Then the concert itself. Front section close enough to see every detail. Lorraine knew every single lyric, belting them out like she was headlining. At one point during Save Your Tears, she grabbed my hand and shouted over the music, "Thank you for this. I haven't felt this young in years." My chest tightened, not with sadness, but with something new. Freedom, maybe. Or joy disguised as rebellion. When I posted a story on Instagram, a quick video of the performance, I made sure Lorraine was visible in the corner, throwing her hands up in the air. Within minutes, my phone buzzed, then buzzed again, then exploded. Mutual friends, acquaintances, even people I barely talked to. "Is that Julian's mom?" Savage move. "Weren't those tickets for you and Julian?" I posted another story, this one of Lorraine and me, holding our VIP lanyards. Caption, "Best concert buddy ever." Finally, I uploaded the meet and greet photo on my feed. Lorraine looked like a rock star. My caption, "Sometimes the best memories come from the most unexpected places. Thanks for an amazing night at Lorraine Rojas." Yes, she had Instagram. Yes, she had more followers than Julian. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Julian. I declined. It rang again. Declined. Then came the text. "What the hell, are you serious right now? Those were supposed to be our tickets. Why is my mom with you? This is immature. Call me back. Now." I turned off my phone. Lorraine noticed, patted my shoulder, and whispered, "Good for you, honey." We stayed until the last encore, screaming lyrics at the top of our lungs. And as the crowd roared, I felt it wash over me. Julian thought he was punishing me with distance. Instead, he had given me a stage to rewrite the story. That night wasn't about revenge. Not entirely. It was about reclaiming something he thought he controlled my joy. When we walked out of the arena, Lorraine linked her arm through mine. "Heather," she said, "if my son can't see what he's lost, then that's his tragedy, not yours." I squeezed her hand, smiling into the night air. For once I thought I'm not the one being humiliated. He is. The morning after the concert, I woke up to a phone vibrating itself off the nightstand. 31 missed calls. 73 unread texts. All from Julian. I sat up slowly, hair-tangled mascara smudged from the night before. The sight of those numbers should have made me feel sick. Instead, it made me laugh. A sharp, quiet laugh. The kind that comes when you finally realize the joke isn't on you anymore. The texts were a chaotic carousel. "You humiliated me." "My own mother." "Are you kidding?" "We need to talk now. I still love you. We can fix this. Answer me, Heather." I tossed the phone face down on the bed. Let him stew. By noon, the buzzing stopped. That's when the intercom to my building went off, long, insistent. My stomach tightened. I crept to the window. There he was, Julian, sitting in his car, slamming his fist against the steering wheel. For a split second, my heart clenched with old habits, the urge to open the door, to soothe, to fix. But then I remembered his words. I need space. I need to find myself. He'd found himself all right, alone. I turned away from the window. The buzzer droned for 5 more minutes, then silence. That evening, I called Lorraine. Did you survive the storm? She asked before I could speak. Barely, I said, chuckling. He camped outside my building like some tragic Romeo. Lorraine snorted. Honey, don't you dare feel guilty. You didn't cause anything. My son made his choices. Her voice softened. You gave him love. He threw it away. That's not on you. Her words felt like balm, but they also stung. Because deep down, I still wanted to know why. Why wasn't I enough? 2 days later, my question started to answer itself. A message pinged from my friend Mia. It came with 3 screenshots. The first, Julian at a rooftop bar, arms slung casually around a woman in neon heels. The second, him at the gym, spotting the same woman, their smiles far too intimate for strangers. The third, her hand pressed against his chest, captioned, surrounding myself with people who understand growth. The woman's name was Tessa, a trainer at his gym. I didn't know her, but I didn't have to. My gut had whispered her existence weeks ago. I stared at the photos, a strange calm washing over me. He hadn't wanted a break. He'd wanted permission. That night, I poured myself a glass of wine and sent the photos to Lorraine without comment. 5 minutes later, my phone rang. Wine tonight, my treat, she said. We met at her place. She answered the door in sweatpants hair, up holding a bottle of red like a weapon. Tell me everything, she demanded, ushering me in. I showed her the screenshots. Her lips pressed into a thin line. So it wasn't about finding himself. It was about finding her. I nodded, swallowing hard. Lorraine leaned back, shaking her head. Julian always wanted the world to revolve around him. You gave him that, and he still went looking for more. Her words were blunt, but behind them I caught a flicker of sadness. This wasn't just my betrayal. It was hers too. Her son had betrayed not only his partner, but the values she thought she'd instilled. We clinked glasses, the wine sharp and heavy on my tongue. By the end of the week, Julian's anger turned desperate. His text shifted tone. I miss us. That girl doesn't mean anything. We can still work this out, Heather. Don't throw it all away. But every apology was followed by an accusation. You embarrassed me in front of everyone I know. You made my own mother choose sides. And yet he still called, still showed up outside, still left voicemails at 3 a.m. that wavered between sobbing and shouting. The more he spiraled, the calmer I became, because for the first time, I wasn't reacting. I was just watching. A week later, Mia sent another update, a photo from Tessa's Instagram story. Julian shirtless in her apartment, glass of champagne in hand. Caption, here's to new beginnings. My stomach twisted not with heartbreak, but with grim satisfaction. Because if Julian thought this was going to stay hidden, he'd underestimated me again. That night, as I lay in bed scrolling through the chaos, a thought flickered across my mind. Every lie he told was about to catch up to him, and I wasn't going to lift a finger to stop it. It happened in the cereal aisle. I was reaching for a box of Lucky Charms, something Julian always hated, said they were too childish. I hadn't touched them in years. But that morning, standing under the fluorescent lights of the grocery store, I wanted them. Seriously, the word shot down the aisle like a bullet. I froze, hand hovering over the shelf. Slowly I turned. Julian. Gym bag slung over his shoulder cart, half full of protein shakes and pre-packaged meals. And beside him, stacked like shadows, were the lies I'd seen in screenshots. His hair was damp, his jaw tight, his eyes wild. You're ignoring me in person now, he demanded. I raised the box of cereal and dropped it in my cart. Oh, hey. His face went red. That's it. Oh, hey. You humiliated me in front of everyone I know, and that's all you have to say. What would you like me to say? I asked, voice cool. An apology. Yes, an apology would be nice. A sharp laugh escaped my throat, catching the attention of a woman pushing a stroller nearby. For what? Taking your mom to a concert. Those were our tickets, Heather. His voice echoed off the shelves. We planned that together. I stepped closer, lowering my voice so only he could hear. No, Julian. I planned it. I bought those tickets as a surprise for you, remember? But then you needed space. So I gave you some. His eyes darted, searching for footing. You knew how much that concert meant to me. And you knew how much this relationship meant to me. I tilted my head. Guess we both learned something. A vein pulsed in his temple. You're being cruel. I'm being practical. The tickets were non-refundable. For a second, his mouth opened and closed like he wanted to argue, but no words came. Then he stepped closer. I caught the faint scent of the cologne I used to love. Now it smelled like arrogance. "Baby, please," he whispered. "Can we just talk? I miss you. I miss us." Something in his tone almost tugged at me. Almost. Until I remembered the rooftop photo. Tessa's hand on his chest. His grin wide as if he'd already won. I leaned back, voice steady. "I already know who I am, Julian. With you and with Tessa." His face went pale. What do you mean?" "Small world," I said lightly. "Lots of mutual friends. Nice rooftop bar, by the way." His jaw clenched. "She's just a friend." "Cool." I turned back to my cart. "Well, I'm just a woman buying cereal. Have a good one, Julian." I started to push away, but his hand shot out, gripping my arm. Not hard, but firm enough to stop me. "You can't just walk away from 3 years," he hissed. "You did," I snapped, pulling free. My voice carried now, catching the ears of 2 teenagers pretending to browse Pop-Tarts. "You asked for a break, and I gave you one, a permanent one." He followed me down the aisle, ignoring the stares. This is so typical. "You never fought for us. You just gave up." Fighting for someone who doesn't want to be with me isn't romantic, Julian. It's pathetic. "I never said I didn't want to be with you." His voice cracked, raw, desperate. I needed to find myself outside of us. Those were my exact words. "Right." I stopped turning on him. "And you found yourself in Tessa's apartment with champagne, didn't you?" The color drained from his face. By now, people weren't even pretending not to listen. A store clerk edged closer, eyes flicking between us nervously. "Is everything okay here?" the clerk asked. "Fine," I said smoothly, sliding my cereal onto the checkout belt. "Just leaving." Julian tried to speak again, but I cut him off with one last look. "You wanted space. Congratulations. You've got more than you can handle." I paid for my groceries, my hands steady, my heartbeat louder than the scanner's beeps. As I pushed the cart toward the exit, I glanced back once. Julian stood frozen in the aisle, surrounded by strangers' stares, anger and humiliation warring across his face. For once, I wasn't the one shrinking under the weight of judgment. He was. That night, I poured myself another glass of wine and replayed the scene in my head. His desperation, his denial, the way the truth finally cracked his mask. It should have made me feel vindicated. Instead, I felt unsettled, because something told me Julian wasn't finished. If anything, the public collision had only lit the fuse. The message came late on a Wednesday night, just as I was brushing my teeth. Unknown number. "Hey, Heather, this is Tessa. Can we talk?" For a moment, I thought it was a prank. Why would she reach out to me, the woman whose boyfriend she'd been parading on Instagram? But curiosity gnawed harder than anger. I typed back, "How did you get my number?" A pause. Then Julian gave it to me. "I think you deserve to know the truth." We met at a Starbucks the next day. I arrived early, sat by the window, my nerves coiled tight. When Tessa walked in, I almost hated how beautiful she was. Athletic, confident hair tied in a sleek ponytail. The kind of woman who seemed allergic to doubt, but her expression wasn't smug, it was troubled. She slid into the seat across from me, gripping her coffee like a lifeline. "Thank you for meeting me." I crossed my arms. "You've got 5 minutes." She winced. "Fair enough." "Look, I didn't know about you. Not the way you think." I raised an eyebrow. "Really?" "He told me you'd broken up. Months ago. Said it was mutual, that you both wanted to see other people." My laugh was sharp, bitter. "Mutual Julian moved out 2 weeks ago." Her eyes widened. 2 weeks? He told me you'd been over since June." I pulled out my phone, scrolled, and held up a text from 3 weeks ago. "Can't wait for our weekend plans. Love you." Tessa's face went pale. She rubbed her temples. God, I feel sick. Piece by piece, the lies spilled out. Julian had told her I was clingy, controlling, that I couldn't let go of him. He painted himself as the victim who'd finally found the courage to escape. "He said you isolated him from his friends." Tessa admitted, shame burning in her cheeks. "That you guilt-tripped him whenever he wanted to go out." I didn't question it. I wanted to believe him. I swallowed hard, fighting the old reflex to defend myself. Did you really think the guy who needed his mom to pick out his shirts was some brave survivor? Tessa let out a humorless laugh. I guess I wanted to. She showed me her phone. Screenshots of Julian's messages. Him comparing me to her. Him complaining I was jealous while begging her not to see other men. Him writing, "Heather doesn't matter anymore. She's crazy. You're my future." The words should have shattered me. Instead, they steeled me. "Why are you telling me this?" I asked. "Because I'm done," she said flatly. "He's been showing up at my apartment every night, telling me he loves me, planning our future. It's been 2 weeks since he supposedly left you, and he's already talking about moving in together. He's unstable." Her eyes met mine, urgent. "You need to be careful." He's angry that you embarrassed him. And when Julian gets angry, he finds ways to make it everyone else's problem. She wasn't exaggerating. The next day, my boss called me into his office. We need to talk about some concerning emails, he said, gently sliding a printout across the desk. Anonymous messages accusing me of harassment, claiming I was stalking an ex, creating a hostile environment for male colleagues. The details were too precise, too personal. Julian's words. My chest tightened. This is insane. He's making it all up. My boss leaned forward. I believe you, but HR has to file this. Document everything. And Heather, consider getting legal protection. That afternoon, my landlord left a voicemail someone had reported me for suspicious activity in my apartment. Drugs, they claimed. Anonymous, but with details only someone who'd lived there would know. And then the final blow, my mom called. Her voice was tight with confusion. Sweetheart, why is Julian messaging me on Facebook saying you're having a breakdown, that you need help? I nearly dropped the phone. He what? He said he's worried about you, that you're unstable since the breakup. I sank onto the couch, hands shaking. He wasn't just lying to girlfriends anymore. He was rewriting me entirely, painting me as dangerous, unhinged. That night, I spread everything out on my table. The text from Julian, the screenshots from Tessa, the fake HR complaint, the landlord's voicemail, my mother's shaken words. The pattern was undeniable. This wasn't heartbreak. This was harassment. I opened my laptop, heart pounding, and started drafting a report for the police. Julian thought he could smear me into silence, but he forgot something. I'd kept receipts. Every word, every threat, every lie. And I was done letting him write the story. The police station smelled like bleach and stale coffee. I sat across from the officer, my laptop open, every screenshot lined up like soldiers. The fake HR emails, the texts, the photos, the Facebook messages to my mom. The officer's brows knitted tighter with each click. Finally, he leaned back. You've done the right thing bringing this in, Ms. Rojas. This isn't just harassment, it's targeted defamation. We'll start the paperwork for a restraining order. For the first time in weeks, I felt air reach my lungs. I signed in my name with a steady hand. And when I walked out into the parking lot, the last thing I expected was to see Julian's car idling by the curb. He got out as soon as he spotted me. His face was pale, but his eyes burned with fury. Really, Heather? The police. I kept walking, heels clicking on the pavement. Don't follow me. But of course he did. You're turning this around on me, making me look like the bad guy. You don't need my help for that, I cut in. My voice was sharp, carrying farther than I intended. A couple of people near the entrance turned to look. Julian lowered his tone, but the venom stayed. You made my mom choose sides. You humiliated me in public. I stopped world on him. No, Julian. You humiliated yourself. You cheated, lied, and tried to keep me as your backup plan. You spread rumors, filed false reports, dragged my family into your lies. And now you're stalking me. His mouth opened, but for once, nothing came out. That's when the officer stepped outside, the same one who'd taken my statement. He walked straight toward us. Ma'am, is this man bothering you? I didn't even hesitate. Yes, he's the one I just filed a report against. The officer turned to Julian, voice firm. Sir, I'm going to need you to leave, right now. The look on Julian's face, shock, disbelief, humiliation, was almost enough to undo me. Almost. But I held his gaze as he got back in his car and peeled out tires, screeching like a tantrum. 2 weeks later, court. Julian sat at the defendant's table, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. His lawyer whispered frantically, passing papers he barely glanced at. I sat with my attorney, Lorraine, right behind me. She'd insisted on coming her hand squeezing my shoulder before we went in. When the judge entered, the room shifted. This wasn't Instagram or whispers at a bar or some stage scene in a grocery aisle. This was the law. My lawyer presented everything. The messages, the screenshots, the false reports. Each piece stacked on top of the last until Julian's lies collapsed under their own weight. The judge's gaze was steady, unimpressed by Julian's stammering excuses. Mr. Cole, he said finally, this is not a misunderstanding. This is a pattern of harassment. Effective immediately, I am granting Ms. Rojas a restraining order. You are to stay 500 feet away from her, her home, and her workplace. Any violation will result in arrest. Julian's face crumpled, but I felt nothing. No victory, no vengeance, just release. Lorraine exhaled behind me, her hand clutching mine. It's over, honey, she whispered. You're free. After court, Lorraine and I sat at a quiet cafe. She looked older than I'd ever seen, her sadness tugging at the corners of her mouth. I wish I could say I didn't see this coming, she said softly. But Julian, He's always needed the world to bend for him. I just never thought he'd go this far. I sipped my coffee, unsure how to comfort the mother of the man who'd tried to destroy me. She reached across the table, covering my hand. Heather, I need you to hear this. You are not to blame for any of it. My son did this, not you. Her voice cracked, but her grip was firm. And if I have to choose between him and the woman he betrayed, I choose you, every time. Tears pricked at my eyes, but I blinked them back. Because in that moment, I realized something. Lorraine's support wasn't just about loyalty. It was about truth. She had seen the worst of her son, and she refused to enable him anymore. For once, Julian hadn't just lost me. He'd lost his own mother. And that loss would echo longer than any restraining order. That night, as I walked back into my apartment, the silence felt different. Not empty, but clean. Julian's shadow was gone. For the first time in months, I wasn't bracing for the next text, the next rumor, the next scene. I was free. But freedom has an aftertaste. Sweet, yes, but edged with the memory of what it cost. As I poured myself a glass of wine and curled into the couch, Lorraine's words echoed in my mind. You made your bed, now lie in it. Julian had chosen lies. I had chosen survival. And the law had chosen the truth. It's been a month since the court hearing, and my life is unrecognizable, quiet, steady mine again. Julian is gone, legally barred from orbiting anywhere near me. No more 3 a.m. voicemails. No more anonymous emails. No more watching his car idle outside my building. The silence feels strange sometimes, like I've stepped into a house after a storm and realized the windows are still intact. But I'm not fragile anymore. Lorraine and I still meet for coffee every week. She teases me that we're an odd pair now, ex-almost mother-in-law and ex-almost daughter-in-law, but there's affection behind her smile. The last time we met, she told me something that made me laugh so hard I nearly spilled my latte. Guess who followed me on Instagram, she said, smirking. I raised an eyebrow. Who? The Weeknd himself. Apparently I posted enough concert photos to annoy him into hitting that follow button. I laughed until my sides ached. You've officially got more clout than Julian ever did. Her smile softened. Let that be a lesson, sweetheart. Sometimes you don't need revenge. Just a little spotlight in the right place. Julian, meanwhile, is unraveling. Tessa kicked him out weeks ago. Lorraine told me he showed up at her gym crying, begging for another chance. Security escorted him out. He's banned now. His friend Marco stopped answering his calls after Julian trashed his couch during a drunken rant. Even Kendra, the friend he ran to after leaving me, messaged me to apologize. I believed his story about you, she wrote until I saw the court documents. I'm sorry for judging without knowing the truth. Now Julian's back living with his parents. And Lorraine. She doesn't sugarcoat what it's like. He's angry all the time, she said. Blames me for betraying him. But I told him straight, you don't throw away a good woman and expect the world to wait while you find yourself. You made your bed. Lie in it. Her words lingered with me long after. As for me, I'm building a new rhythm. I joined a climbing gym, signed up for a book club, cooked lasagna with Lorraine on Sunday nights. And on one quiet morning, I did something that felt absurdly symbolic. I bought Lucky Charms. I poured a bowl, the marshmallows clinking against porcelain. It was silly small, but it was mine. Julian had always scoffed, said they were garbage food, banned them from our cart. Now each bite tasted like freedom. Sweet, childish freedom. Sometimes people ask if I regretted all those 3 years, the routines, the heartbreak. The truth, no. Julian taught me something important, that love without respect is just dependency dressed up in rituals. That giving someone everything means nothing if they only want more. And maybe most of all, he taught me the power of silence. That sometimes the loudest revenge isn't yelling or plotting. It's living well while they crumble under the weight of their own choices. I don't need him to see me happy. I don't need him to know he lost. Because he already knows. And that knowledge will haunt him longer than anything I could ever say. One night, Lorraine raised her glass to me across her kitchen table. To freedom, she said simply. I clinked my glass against hers, the sound ringing clear, almost musical. And for the first time in a long time, I felt it in my bones. I was free. Sometimes the sweetest revenge isn't revenge at all.